Japan is one of the most popular tourist destinations throughout all of Asia. It's definitely on my bucket list. With the way the world currently is, traveling overseas is a little bit of a challenge. Board games are a really great way of transporting people to those locations that we really love without leaving the comfort of your home. In this video, we are going to look at my 7 favorite Japanese themed board games to play with a family that you want to visit time and time again. Let's go! Wait, are you planning a holiday to Japan? Oh, I love Japan. I've always wanted to go there. Oh, please take me with you.
Are you ready to go?
But I haven't even had time to pack yet.
Well, I've pretty much unpacked all of these board game components and I'm ready to play.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to journey between Kyoto and Tokyo? Well, the first board game on this list is a set collection, worker placement, track movement style game where players will be trekking along the Great Eastern Sea Road of Tokaido as they sample the cuisine, take a bath in the local hot spring, as well as take some amazing panoramic photos of their adventures. So, are you ready to take the trip? Tokaido is a beautiful game about slowing down and taking in the sights and doing activities that are representative of the Japanese way of life. Work on a farm to earn some coin, pay your respects to the temple to earn victory points, and sample the delicious meals on the menu at the inn. Playing Tokaido feels like you're taking a gap year from your studies and throwing yourself into a world of rest and relaxation. Throughout the game, players will be walking in the shoes of a unique traveller who each have different special abilities. As a traveller, players will be moving down this linear trail, stopping at points of interest along the way. The catch here is that there is no strict turn order. In fact, it is the last player in the line that takes the next turn. Be the slowest player, take the next turn. Simple as that. Along the way, players will be stopping at the village to collect a range of different souvenirs. They'll be taking photos of the amazing scenery and storing it in their photo album. They'll be dipping in the hot springs and also encountering different characters along the way. The main idea here is that every experience rewards players with victory points. The longer you dabble in a side attraction, the more points you will accumulate. Incorporating the Crossroads expansion adds extra variety to visiting each location. It introduces a branching choice. It might be gathering calligraphy cards, obtaining legendary objects, picking from the cherry trees, or even rolling the fortune die. Tokaido will often have players struggling between taking the short road or the long road. Tokaido is definitely a zen-like experience which has players fighting over who's going to be taking the back seat. Moving up the trail is both a tactful and puzzly experience, which is all about the right timing. Adjusting your speed so that you stop at the attractions and also develop a really good solid income stream is super important. So it does pay to take a few weeks off to work on the rice fields to pay for your next meal. Leapfrogging and triggering multiple big gains several turns in a row is a strategy that you'll uncover that really adds to the game experience. Wow, you have such a massive board game collection. Maybe you should slow down. No way. Do you enjoy the feeling of being stuck in traffic? Or have you ever considered a career in paddle pop stick road engineering? Well, in Tokyo Highway, players will be crafting complex highway systems to help alleviate some of the traffic problems in the city. However, players will need to plan their roads carefully because if they start building their roads too precariously, it could all come crumbling down. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to turn a traffic jam into a dexterity style board game? Well, Tokyo Highway has you building ramps, dodging big grey ominous buildings, and stacking roads onto pillars in order to cross over roads that everyone has built. Crossing over a road either above or below an existing road allows you to deploy a car from your pool of vehicles. The aim of the game is to ultimately place all of your vehicles out onto the highway system before the other players do so. Sounds easy, right? Well, that is if you are great at balancing things. Take this example for a moment.
All new roads must either ramp up or down, creating gradients around the table. Yellow discs allow roads to branch off, allowing players to let off a bit of steam out of the pressure cooker. Whilst if you are brave enough, crossing a road over multiple other roads scores you a great combo, allowing you to deploy multiple cars at the same time. I guess Google Maps is going to have a lot of trouble with giving directions in this one.
Tokyo Highway is a board game that presents its players with an interesting engineering challenge, being able to construct roads that weave in and out of other people's roads in order to score combos and deploy vehicles from your supply as quickly as possible is immensely satisfying. Players will need to master their balancing skills to use this pair of tweezers to place their cars out so that they end up precisely in the place that they want them. I like the geographical nature of this game where you have to try and avoid these building obstacles, but whilst also avoiding the whole thing collapsing altogether. And I do house rule this game where if you're the first person to cause the whole thing to collapse, then you lose. Very similar to the rules in Jenga. The Great Wave of Kanagawa is one of Hokusai's most amazing woodblock art prints ever made. Kanagawa is a board game where players will be taking the role of students attending one of Hokusai's most prestigious art schools as they paint landscapes that feature characters, animals, plants, and buildings across the 4 different seasons. The player who can master the best artistic technique will win the game.
Throughout a game of Kanagawa, players will be brushing up on their art skills as they use brushes to paint a panoramic scene, all with the aim of gaining as many diploma cards first. Across each round, players will be revealing lesson cards on this bamboo mat, placing them face up or face down according to what is indicated there. Like a board game sushi train, players then in turn order can decide to take a column of cards if they want to, or pass. If players pass, the next row of cards is dealt, making each column become larger. When players take a column of cards, they can use them in 2 ways, to either extend their print or extend their canvas. To expand the landscape, players need to match the combination of brushes and colours shown on the card. Brushes are moved up and down a player's canvas like some sort of shopping centre elevator system, so ensuring that you have the right coloured combinations available for your print is essential. When players have expanded their artwork panorama enough, they then decide whether to take a diploma or not. Finishing the most basic diploma yields you the least amount of points, whilst the advanced diploma gets you the most.
Whilst Kanagawa primarily sells itself as a brush placement set collection game, the push your luck element when it comes to drafting the lesson cards from this thematic bamboo mat each and every round is incredibly thrilling. Do you take one card so that another player can't take the card that they need to complete their set of icons? Or do you hold out and draft 3 cards all at the same time to create some really cool, powerful actions in your tableau? I really like how the cards come with these colored bats, which indicate what sort of category those cards might belong to. So if you're hoping to complete that 4th building and you see a face down building card, the element of unpredictability just makes it really exciting. Another element that I really like is, whilst people are building their own panoramas individually, there's this kind of indirect interaction that occurs throughout the game, kind of like a long-distance relationship. Players are ultimately vying for only one diploma tile in each of the different colored sets, and that creates kind of like this head-to-head racing element between players. Players will need to decide whether they're just going to settle with the lowest one and nab that before the other players, or will they invest long-term and try and nab the higher valued one. Have you ever seen those classic Japanese monster films which features a range of different kaiju destroying cities and battling other monsters? Well, King of Tokyo is one of the first board games I was introduced to upon entering this amazing hobby. It is a game where players take on the role of monstrous behemoths as they fight to become the King of Tokyo.
Have you ever played that classic arcade game Rampage or seen that movie with The Rock in it? Well, King of Tokyo, the most ferocious and colourful monsters are here to rock the town. Aren't they just adorable? Throughout the game, players will be rolling dice, re-rolling any that they don't want up to 3 times to try and group icons together, which forms the resources that they gain for the round. It could be gaining life, victory points, green energy cubes, and damage which they inflict to the player whose monster is currently in the centre of Tokyo. The catch here is that the player who's currently in the middle of Tokyo can inflict damage to all the other players, but they have to also take damage from all the other players surrounding them, so they have to decide when it is best to stay in town or leave. Like a trip to the supermarket during the end of the world, players will be spending a lot of their energy cubes to acquire special ability cards from the central area. The ability cards helps players to develop combos, boost to their actions, and hopefully perform that uppercut which will KO the other players. The player who reaches 20 victory points first, or is the last kaiju standing, wins.
King of Tokyo is a fantastic family weight game. Just the idea of rolling these chunky dice as they rattle across the dining table simply reminds you that Godzilla isn't the only one that can be loud. The players can too. I really like how players can manipulate and push their luck when it comes to rolling the dice to try and get a really good dice combo. It makes the game feel quite challenging and suspenseful. The power card deck also has some really good synergies to explore. In particular, ones that allow you to develop a stronger attack system, one that helps you to gain more green energy cubes, or even gaining that extra dice to roll on your turn. So who do you think would win in a fight? Godzilla or King Kong? I think Godzilla's got a pretty decent chance. Could use his intimidating roar, thunder stomp to cause some destruction, fire blast, as well as some rapid healing if he takes any damage. In that case, I guess I'll definitely need some protection. Do you enjoy the idea of tending to a garden, potting some herbs, nurturing a bonsai, or even growing your own bamboo? Now imagine that beautiful garden and plonking a really big panda right in the middle of it. In Takenoko, players will be working as gardeners for the Japanese emperor as they tend to the royal garden, as well as trying to keep the panda happy, which was a gift from the Chinese emperor. The player who satisfies the emperor's wishes the best will win the game.
I like to compare a game of Takenoko to the same feeling you get when you look after a fish tank. You change the water every now and then, you make sure the fish are fed, and if you want to, you might decorate with some really cool rocks and plants. In Takenoko, you are looking after a panda, growing bamboo, and ensuring that you irrigate the tile so everything grows perfectly and harmoniously. Each turn, players will take 2 actions to draw and place plot tiles, place irrigation channels that lead from the main pond, move the gardener to grow bamboo, move the panda to eat bamboo, or draw objective cards to complete, which is the primary way of scoring victory points. Each turn, players will gain the bonus rolled on the weather die, whether it may be repeating an action taken or earning an improvement tile to help you fertilize your strategy. It is a game about building patterns, growing bamboo to different heights, and trying not to get in the way of the panda's appetite. By playing with the Chibi's expansion, which I highly recommend, the female panda brings baby pandas into the game, which provides players with extra bonuses. There are also cool new tiles, including one tile that grows all 3 species of bamboo.
Takenoko is a gorgeously crafted gateway game that immediately draws your eyes into both its theme and colourful table presence. Players are collectively helping to try and plan an efficient garden that grows both 2-dimensionally and 3-dimensionally as well. The sense of interaction that happens in this game between players is quite interesting, because players, not only are they planning an efficient garden so that it feels harmonious and beautiful to walk through, they're secretly trying to satisfy their own private objectives, and inadvertently that causes players to get in the way of other players' plans, which creates for some really fun and exciting and challenging moments to deal with. Players are constantly switching and adapting which objectives they're going for and trying to find the most efficient route to try and trigger the end game. It's like everybody wants a piece of that cute little panda. Dude, why'd you turn on that really bright light? That's because you threw way too much shade on that recent board game review that you did. I love it when a small box 2-player game comes along and takes your breath away by offering you a deep game of tug-of-war and complex decision making. Hanumakoji is a game set in the old city that features the famous geishas. Throughout the game, players will be competing to gain the favor of the 7 geishas by offering them very valuable items and making the right moves. The player who does it the best will win.
Have you ever tried to meet 7 people at once? It's pretty hard. Well, okay, I know Snow White did it, so I guess we could do it too. Across a round of Hanumakoji, all 7 geishas will be lined up in the middle of the play area. Each player will have a hand of 6 cards, which are the offerings that they'll be able to use throughout the round. Each player will then take turns drawing a card off the deck and resolving one of the 4 actions in front of them, turning them over each time they use them. So in essence, you'll only get to use each action once during the round, so choose carefully. The idea that centers around these 4 actions is the idea of gifting. Have you ever tried to fight with someone to pay for a meal? Well, here, for 1 action, you can tuck a card from your hand in secret under the action tile, which won't be counted in the scoring until the end of the round. Think of it as a secret letter. Players can choose to offer 3 gifts and have the other player pick one to offer, and you offer the remaining 2. At the end of the round, each geisha will decide who they favour more. The victory marker moves to the side of the player who is more popular. If a player wins 4 geishas or wins a geisha's total worth of 11 charm points, that player wins.
Hanumakoji is probably one of the most interesting 2-player card games that I've played. I really like how the game exploits the I split you choose mechanism exceptionally well. 2 of the actions requires players to either place out cards for the other player to choose from, or place out 2 piles for the other player to choose from. That whole process of deciding what cards to offer out onto the table is not only thematic to this theme, but also a really complex, layered process. Do you offer 2 things that are equally enticing that you can both benefit from, or do you offer something that's beneficial in one pile but not beneficial in the other pile, hoping that that beneficial pile will distract your opponent from your true intentions? There's a multi-layered thinking and social process that underpins how this game feels. So, I brought you 2 piles of games. You can only choose 1 pile. Which one would you pick? Iki is quickly becoming one of my most treasured games in my entire board game collection. In fact, it was the inspiration for this very video. In Iki, players will be running stalls set in the Edo period in Japan. Players will be immersing themselves in the rich trading scene as they buy fish from the fish markets, acquire tobacco pouches and pipes, as well as hiring a range of different merchants and professionals like tatami makers and wood block printers, all with the aim of gaining the most money and prestige possible.
If you ever wanted to play a gorgeous game about setting up a shop, then this is the Euro game for you. In Iki, players will be hiring and retiring workers across 4 different seasons, right up and into the new year. Each player will purchase characters which run different types of stalls as represented by these worker meeples. Ranging from glass blowing to selling watermelons, players will be attempting to create an enticing set of actions that will help them generate income and resources quickly. Across each round, each player will be moving this large worker around the markets along this circular track. Wherever their master worker stops, they gain the action listed on the banner, plus they can also resolve the 2 actions depicted on the stalls connected to that banner. The interesting twist here is that if a player chooses to activate a character stall and it belongs to another player, then that other player gets to upgrade that worker. This worker upgrade system allows players to both benefit in gaining resources more efficiently. Throughout the game, players will need to keep their stalls safe. To do so, players will need to invest in their occupational health and safety policy, where they will need to improve their protection against fire outbreaks. Each time a fire outbreaks, it destroys any stall that is unprotected. Having a high fire strength will also help you pick first when determining the speed at which your master worker will walk each round. Scoring points is quite layered in Iki. At the end of each season, players score points for any Nagaya where there are 2 or more of the same worker suit, which is then multiplied by the number of workers of a certain colour on that stall type. This helps players to gain big bonuses throughout the game. Players can also earn points by gathering sets of fish, pipes, and tobacco bags throughout the year. Buildings are long-term goal cards that give players a dream to work towards. Gain enough money, and you can buy your own home, or theatre, if you like to dabble in the entertainment business, that is.
The intricacies that are interwoven in a game of Iki have surpassed all of my expectations. This is a game about incentivizing players to use the stalls that you have created. I really love the idea that when you build a stall, you deploy a worker there, and the longer that your worker is there, the more they upgrade, and eventually they'll retire, providing you with long game bonuses. So you can kind of build a really cool economic and resource engine. I also like the mechanic of another player coming to visit your store, and when they visit your store and use an ability that matches a character that you've got, that allows your character to upgrade more quickly. That is a beautiful mechanism because it makes you feel like you're developing this shared economy. It's like inviting your friends to your shop and you get a benefit and they get a benefit as well. I also love this rondelle mechanism where your main worker walks around to each of the different shopping districts, and the faster that they move, the quicker your workers are going to upgrade. Or you could meander at a really slow pace and just do some window shopping at the same time. The pace of how your characters evolve and upgrade is all up to you. I really love this set collecting mechanic as well, and the victory point systems in this game feel like they're embedded into the actions of the theme and what you're experiencing throughout the different seasons. And the victory point gathering mechanism of having the same colored set or type of store with lots of your workers in that particular Nagaya is going to help you yield and multiply the amount of points you get at the end of each season. There's so many layers to this game that just really, every time I visit it, I see something different, a different path to victory, a different type of synergy between the twist and worker placement that this game has. So what did you think of the board games that were featured in this list today? Was there something that piqued your interest? Please let me know in the comment section below. Also, were there some other Japanese themed board games that you think that I missed? I'd love to hear them. If you really liked this video and found it very helpful, please consider hitting the like button. If you want to see more amazing and informative board game content like this one, please make sure you smash the subscribe button. If you want to see Board Game Sanctuary grow, please try and check out some of my other videos. I would truly appreciate it. If you want all the latest news updates, please consider heading over to my Patreon and Facebook page. This is Danny signing out. I hope your next board game experience is an amazing one. Goodbye.